and one. What's happening, YouTube? You're back on the Lamont Tyson Life Games channel. I got my man Larry. Y'all know him. But the other you see is my man Emmanuel from the E-Man Review channel. Say something to the people, Emmanuel.
What's going on, happy people?
We brought this brother over because he reviews films, shows. He's a member of all kinds of associations. He's a professional movie reviewer. So, Emmanuel, tell us a little bit about your film background and some of the things you have done in film.
Whew, man, where do I begin? So I think I started off, very simple with just a Facebook post. Like I was just giving my thoughts. I think the first movie I did that with was actually might have been The Dark Knight. And I was just,
That's a good one.
Right, of all movies to start off with.
Right.
And I was just giving my thoughts and everything. And I did it for a couple extra movies and stuff because low key, everybody's a film critic. Everybody.
Right.
The real difference is who's going to put in that extra work to actually articulate what you think, so that's the only difference is who's going to go through that extra hump of work. And so I started posting online, and then for a minute I kind of stopped, and then people was hitting me up like, bro, what are you doing? Like, we trying to find out should we go see this or not? Like, what are you doing? So I was like, oh, I didn't know y'all was checking for me like that. Okay, so I guess I'll keep going. So one thing led to another. I started up my own little website where I could put all my reviews in one place. Then I started posting on social media, and then I started jumping into doing YouTube videos because one thing I've always been was a visual creator. Like I like to visually present my ideas to people and stuff. And like I started looking around at other film critics because I'm like, oh, let me get some inspiration. And I was like, I don't see nobody that look like me. I don't see anyone that sounds like me, So I'm like, I guess I need to do this myself. I had to be like Thanos, and be like, I'll do it myself.
And you did it without the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right. And the funny thing is, I won't name him, but it was a very popular film critic. And this is what like pushed me over the edge. I read one of his reviews and he spoiled the entire movie. And this is a movie that didn't even come out yet.
What?
I was so heated. And it was at that time I realized I hate spoilers. So I was like, you know what? I'm not about to sit here and read someone's 10-page essay on one movie. I don't want spoilers in it. So I said, I'm just going to give people straight up the good, the bad, the reason you should go see it or not, the rating, and that's it. And no spoilers at all. So I don't care when you read or watch my reviews, you could just jump right in. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie, but if you haven't seen the movie, you won't. So, that was kind of like the formation of it all. In terms of the YouTube channel, I mean, like, because it's really different journeys, right? So there's the YouTube social media journey, then there's like the film critic journey in itself, right? For legitimacy. But for the YouTube aspect, I was just making videos, and I do not recommend anyone go look at my very first couple of videos. They are atrocious.
I have to go see them now. I have to.
I think I'm like it was the first time I was playing with green screen, and I'm like halfway invisible in one of them. It's bad. It's just bad. But the sound is terrible. It's bad. But for anybody out there that's like trying to start their channel, one thing that happened with me was the fact that I was 130 videos deep with only maybe 120 subscribers.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Like, because it was just, I was just grinding it out, putting them out there. I wasn't getting a whole lot of views at all. And, I was going to quit that too, because it's like, after doing all the shooting and editing and processing and marketing and all that stuff on your own and only getting a couple of views here and there, that could be pretty depressing. You know what I'm saying? Like you just be like, what am I really doing all this work for? And it wasn't until a friend of mine had said something to me and they was like, man, I was about to quit and do all that stuff too. But then boom, I caught like a big break, and now this dude is like traveling the world. He's a photographer shooting Michael Jordan and LeBron James and all this other stuff, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take that advice, because the mentality that I started realizing was, one, I'm creating content and videos because I like it, because that's my passion, right? Because you should never be doing anything. I don't care if it's YouTube or whatever you're doing. Don't do it unless you're passionate about it, because your passion is going to be the thing that's going to carry you through the times when it don't look too fun, and it ain't popping like that. So there was that. And two, I was like, if I ever do get big, I need to have a catalog for all those new people, so they'd be like, oh, this is what he does. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just keep throwing the stuff out there, because you never know when you're gonna use that stuff later. So to make a long story short, I kind of got popping more so off of the Avengers, Infinity War, and stuff like that.
That's how I got you. You did that Hulk review.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I didn't do it for the clicks. I didn't know anybody was going to check for it. I was just sitting there like, I kept seeing people talk about Loki was actually the Hulk, in disguise. And I was like, no, he's not. What are y'all talking about? Like, I mean, I saw every popular video. Loki is the Hulk. Loki is the Hulk. And I was like, Loki is not the Hulk. And all of a sudden, that just shot up. And the crazy thing is, like, you don't know when you're going to blow up, or if you'll ever blow up, but when it happens like that. So those 100-something odd subscribers that I had after 130 videos, well, shoot, after 135 videos, the subscriber count just jumped exponentially. Now I'm sitting here like, oh, I need to actually keep producing now, because I have people that are watching. So one thing after another, I found the niche that worked, which was, at that time, it was Avengers, Marvel content. People apparently really liked it when I did theories and told stories and stuff. So I just kept chucking that out. And now I'm at 76,000. I'm trying to be like Lamont. So I'm trying to be like you when I grow up.
No, you ain't trying.
But yeah, like, that popped off, and then again, it's ebbs and flows. With YouTube, like, you're gonna hit a certain high. I always tell people, ride the waves. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Avengers thing, MCU, that was a high wave, and I caught on to it at that time. But right now, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's low tide, because ain't nothing really popping right now, especially with all the quarantine and stuff. But this kind of leads me to becoming a professional film critic, right? So that journey is something that I started taking in parallel at the same time. And one of the things that I learned to do was to join certain film critic associations, because a lot of times what that does is it helps to mold you into a professional, film critic, because they have standards to be in that association in the first place. You got to review like 50 movies in a year. That's like one movie a week, for people, without a break. Like, you literally have to act like this is your full-time job, and again, you got to put in that work. If you're doing written reviews, they have to be at least 400 words or more. You can't just be like, I like this movie and it was dope, go see it. Like, you really got to actually talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So joining different associations definitely started to expand my professionalism. Like, I literally started learning new words like cinematography. I never know what that meant before. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, as you get through it, you get more refined and everything. That kind of helps. And after a while, I joined more groups, and like, really, it's a question of like networking, because by myself, I can't do a lot of things. I don't have my best friend who works at a TV station who can get me an interview, and that doesn't happen, but this kind of goes into like what you was talking about earlier about some of the struggles that you go through being Black, or just minority, honestly, at this point. When I first got into this, even as a professional, critic, the movie studios, they hire PR companies. PR companies are kind of like the gatekeepers at that time. And the first hurdle that you kind of come across, especially when you're Black, is, oh, you're Black, so you probably talk to other Black people, which means we're only going to give you access to Black films. So you kind of have to go through that little filter, even though I'm sitting here like, yo, I know I could talk about Friday After Next or whatever. I know I could talk about that, but I'm sitting here trying to talk about Inception. I want to talk about, like the Green Book. I need to talk about Green Book. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need my voice in those type of conversations. When Chirac came out, y'all better have me sitting here talking about this stuff. So
damn right.
It was kind of like a hurdle in that case, because one, you feel pigeonholed to only talk about Black content. Two, you also feel pigeonholed because for them, and it's not really a fault of their own. I'm not going to sit here and say that PR companies are racist or nothing like that. They're a byproduct of how the industry works. So because of that, yes, you're Black, but also you ain't got a following. You don't have the numbers. And I always tell people, numbers are your leverage in today's world. When you have 100,000 followers, 200,000, 300,000, 1 million, that is your currency in this world, because you can go up to anybody, a company, and be like, hey, I got blank amount of followers. Hook me up with this, and this. Let me get this, and this. I will bring you exposure that you don't have to pay for. Give me a little bit of your time, or maybe even give me some of your product that's free to you anyway. Let me have it, and I'm bringing you free customers, free eyeballs, free awareness to your brand. So for me, it was kind of a double-edged sword, though, right? Because it was like, yo, I'm Black, so y'all only giving me Black content, which is already very limited in terms of the audience. And two, I'm having low numbers in the beginning because y'all not giving me the stuff to get people. So it's a chicken and the egg type of situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, you sitting here like, yo, if y'all gave me an interview, I would get more people and more followers, and then I could, establish myself more. So it's a weird situation where you have to, again, go above and beyond, do more. And there were instances where I started to learn double standards. You know what I'm saying? Like, where I would see people who I had more followers than, but they were getting like Robert De Niro, Hugh Jackman. They was getting red carpet access. I'm like, what? I thought it was about the numbers, though. Like, I got more numbers and you letting them in? Like, what's going on? So it's always a journey. It's always a journey. It's always a challenge. And I'm only speaking from my experience. I mean, it's also the case for other minorities as well. Like, if you're a woman, you're gonna have certain difficulties in this realm, just being Hispanic, brown, I mean, anything, it's just, I don't know, it's just the way they operate on times, unfortunately. But if you get the numbers, all that stuff goes away, or at least the path is a little easier, I should say that. But yeah, once I did that, I finally got my social media numbers up. I started being more professional, because that's something that they don't teach you straight out. If you're starting to write out of nowhere and you're making content, you don't know the ins and outs of the industry, and nobody's about to teach you either. That's another thing that is a challenge, is the fact that, like, you're saying, okay, you need to appeal to a bigger audience than just Black folks. All right, I got that. You need to have a large amount of numbers. Okay, I got that. You don't act professional. What is professional? We can't tell you. What? So I got to learn it on my own. So I was learning the hard way. Like, there's a thing called embargoes for movies. So basically what that is movie studio will say, hey, we're going to give you access to a movie 2 weeks in advance, but you can't talk about the movie until 1 week before it comes out. The challenge that you have, because in the beginning, you need numbers, you need followers. Well, guess what? If you're the first person to talk about a movie before everybody else, you're going to get all the traffic. So there's this temptation for people to be like, oh, well, cool. Like I did Straight Outta Compton. I released that video review like 3 weeks before the movie came out, way before the embargo. But I didn't know what an embargo was. Why? Because I wasn't invited to the screening. I stood in line like a regular person would. So the studio was mad, but I'm like, how y'all mad and y'all didn't tell me? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, if you had told me, I would have respected it, but you didn't tell me. So this is your problem. You know, I'm gonna do what I need to do to get my numbers up. You know, then it's all these hidden rules and stuff to figure out like the do's and don'ts. And in one of my critic associations, I'm the director. I'm one of the directors, and one of my initiatives was to make sure people don't have to go through what I go through. You know, and that's the Chicago Indie Critic Circle. And what we do now is like I give a whole guide for people that are coming in, especially, you know, because we're all about diversity and everything. So if you're coming in, you've never written before, or you know what I'm saying, you've written a little bit, but you don't know the ropes, I got a whole protocol straight up for you, you know, when you get accepted into the membership. Because again, nobody told us, and it's not until somebody explains it and creates that bridge that other people can get on. I kind of took it on myself to kind of like do that. You know, it's led to some positive things, like you know, a lot of that also has to do with the industry kind of changing. So after the Me Too movement or Time's Up or whatever it was, more of the industry started to realize, oh no, it was the Oscars So White. When the Oscars So White stuff started happening, they started to realize that, oh wait, there are minorities in the press, and they just don't have the opportunities. You know, like perfect example, we could be on a red carpet if you even get invited. If you get invited, and I guarantee you, at almost every red carpet, look all the way at the end, and that's where you see all the black folks.
What?
Yeah, all the way at the end. And you know, the problem with that is they'll line them up, you know, by network or by wherever, you know, media outlet you're in. So yeah, big television outlets, all right, y'all get first dibs, y'all in the front. But again, it's that chicken and the egg thing. Because we don't get the opportunities, we usually have lower numbers, so we at the back of the line. But guess what happens at the back of the line? By the time you sitting here chit-chatting with all these other people in the front, it's time to go. Your PR person is rushing you. And by the time you get to us, it's like, oh, sorry, we don't have time. Well, now we ain't got nothing. You know? So it's always something. You know, it's always something. It's always a matter of trying to prove yourself, trying to overcome hidden obstacles that you don't even know exist until you smack yourself face into it. So it's definitely there. I mean, you know, just recently, I've been having like these cool little opportunities to have, you know, some interviews and, you know, meet different celebrities and stuff. And a lot of that stuff had nothing to do with me. It was all because of just who I was associated with in terms of the Critic Association. You know, I got to kind of sort of meet Eddie Murphy, you know, now. Just
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, go for it.
He ain't happened to bring Nicole Murphy with him, did he? Yeah.
Look,
Miles want to know. I mean,
I was looking.
Okay.
I was looking.
Okay.
But she wasn't there.
Okay.
Trust.
If she was, she might would have jumped on you because she love her some black men.
And look, I'm fine with that. That was let me not get myself in trouble.
Yeah. No trouble. I don't want nobody in your house to think we bad influences. We're good men over here.
No, it's all good. It is all good.
So tell us about, if you can, I don't know if you get access to this stuff. I know people in the academy get access to screeners and stuff when it comes time to award time, but how is that working now since you have all this lockdown stuff in there, and a lot of the stuff is going directly to streaming, but they still need reviews out. And I know that some of the studios have started to have online portals where you have, your own login and username that gets you in, where you can view the content early so you can do your reviews. What is that like? And have you dealt with any of the online element of reviewing, or as far as accessing the films for review?
Yeah. So it's two parts to that. I mean, one is a lot of the studios are already pushing back a lot of their movies and postponing them. So since they're doing that, they're not giving us access to movies. Like, so whatever was going to come out, this summer, nobody's getting access to that. However, we are getting access to things like that are coming out on Netflix or streaming platforms. Netflix is thirsty for capitalizing on this time, because this is the time for them to shine right now. Everybody's locked in. Can't nobody go out. You need to watch something. Netflix is killing it right now with that. So they do, give us access to watching certain content, like maybe a week or two in advance or something, just to give you time to actually write your review and get it out. So that's happening for on-demand platforms, but not things that were going to go to theaters. Okay. But in terms of the awards, this is something that recently started changing, because before they used to just send you out a whole bunch of DVDs in the mail and stuff. Right. But recently they started opening up online web portals to do online screeners for just the awards films, though. Those are the ones that they really want you to see and review and pump up during award season. But even that's something that, again, you get leverage through your Film Critic Association, So if you're by yourself and you solo, unless you have a relationship with every single studio, or you just have the numbers where the studios are looking for you, you're just not going to get it, So I got lucky because since I'm part of so many different associations, I'm getting like double, triple the, of the same movie coming in, just because they'd rather go off of associations than individuals.
Right.
Man, look, I promise you we came professional. Here's my card. You can call me the Black Oprah, Popra. I was ready, but the thing is, I can tell you've done these interviews, because everything on this note card I was going to ask you, you summarized in one breath. Now you're causing me to have to pivot to more fun things.
Hey, let's do it.
You summarized the journey beautifully. You inspired people. You gave them something to take, to not give up. Yeah. But now we've got to talk to you about a little bit of the fun stuff when it comes to movies and TV shows.
Sure.
So first things first, I got a story yesterday and I dropped the video today. There is a rumor swirling around that Namor is going to replace Black Panther as Marvel's premier Black superhero. Reasons being is because we've seen Chadwick Boseman. He's a little thin. He was at the All-Star game. He had on his Jackie Robinson stripe thing, and he was the size of one of those stripes. Then there's the rumor about his money. He's not happy about the money he's getting from Marvel. What do you think about this rumor, and do you feel like there's any validity to the rumor?
I think there is zero validity to it, mainly because, for one, my sources haven't said anything about that, and two, the only place I've seen that circulated is We Got It Covered and cosmicnews.com. Both of those websites I personally think are the same website, because all they do is just repeat whatever they say, and they do clickbait, and then they be like, hey, look at what we got a cover said. No, look at what Cosmic News said. And it's like, okay, clearly y'all doing this for clickbait. But no, I don't believe it, because let's be honest, if something that juicy were real, everybody'd be jumping on it. And we're talking about the people that actually have access to Marvel, to Chadwick. They would be jumping on it, because they'd be like, oh, there's a rumor. Cool. You know what the first thing we're going to do? We're going to call Marvel up and confirm this. Even if Marvel has no comment, they're still going to follow it up. So whenever I see and hear these websites talk about, oh, this is going to happen, and I'm like, okay, look, if other bigger, more connected websites are not talking about it, I'm not even wasting my time with it. I'm just not. So I say don't even worry about it. I unless you hear Deadline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, maybe comicbook.com, maybe then you can kind of go along with it. But in the meantime, nah, don't even worry about it. If your source is a YouTube video, hell no. Remember when we was in elementary school and they used to say, or even high school, they talk about like Wikipedia is not a source. YouTube is not a source. I need people to understand that. YouTube is not a source. So if that's where any of this is coming from, don't do it, because YouTube is changing where people have to make clickbait to make money. So they will take any rumor that's been popular on Reddit or on just the dark web or whatever, and if it gets you clicks, then that's it. So I just say, yo, if it sounds too good to be true and ain't nobody else talking about it, don't believe it. Don't believe the hype.
Whew, boy, Wakanda forever. Because because for those of you that don't know, my man has hosted a Black Panther event in the Shy. And if you want to connect with this brother, just check the video description and the top post. I've got a link to his bio. I've also got how you can chat with him on his YouTube, how you can connect with him on Facebook and Instagram. Now we've got to ask you, what is your favorite movie in history that you reviewed?
That's not even fair. Can I get a genre? Like, it's easier to do genres.
Okay.
Than, because it's like one movie. Oh man.
Okay, how about this? Drama.
That's still tough.
That is tough. Because now I'm trying to.
Let me narrow it down even further.
Okay.
Let me take that to another subset.
Okay.
How about horror? Favorite horror movie?
I could give you horror. I don't even know if I reviewed it, because I might not have been reviewing at the time. But my favorite horror to this day is Insidious.
Okay.
And the main reason, actually, I really like the franchise more so than anything, and it's all because of James Wan. James Wan is one of the most innovative and revolutionary horror directors ever. I keep calling him this generation's Wes Craven. What Wes Craven did with Freddy Krueger back in the past, like James Wan, I'm telling you, this dude if you look at his growth from when he did Dead Silence to Saw to Insidious to The Conjuring, when you look at what he does, he rarely repeats himself. He rarely also relies on cheap jump scares. It's something I absolutely adore, because I hate it when horror movie directors do stereotypical stuff. They make the characters dumb. They make the people do things that don't make sense. They basically set you up for a scare, that's coming, and even when it happens, you're like, okay, now it's all good. Now we cool.
You forgot one thing that they do that's stereotypical.
Huh?
And you forgot one thing that they do that's always stereotypical of these horror movies, and somebody gotta say it. You can't
kill the black person first.
They always kill the black people. You're gonna see a black person get killed, and you're gonna see the white girl fall down in the middle of the chase.
See, all of that. So with his stuff, though, he does something that that a lot of people don't take advantage of, which is showing us less is more, because it makes your imagination work, and your imagination can be the scariest place you need. I don't need to show you everything. If I insinuate something, you know, like he'll do things like show you dead space in a shot, and just off of that, you be sitting there like, what is that? What's up over there? Now you freaking out, and ain't nothing really even happened. You know what I'm saying? So it's anything James Wan has touched as a director, primo.
So if you have a favorite movie, not just like your favorite reviewed movie, do you have a favorite movie? Like, I'm sure people have asked you for your top list, like your top 5 or your top 10s. What's on the top of your list?
Man, that's hard to do too. I mean, you know, off the top of my head, like movies to me that can make me think after the movie's done, now you win. You win for me. So movies like Inception blow my mind. Movies like The Matrix when it first came out blows my mind. Like I love stuff like that. You know, Seven, things that have moral dilemmas, you know, or moral ambiguity, things that'll just make you sit here and be like, was he bad, or did they do the right thing? Like I don't anything like that.
So you like the anti-villain in cases. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin fan.
No. I like a compelling villain.
Okay.
I like a villain that will make the hero just upgrade in some way, shape, or form. You know, because that's actually what you really need. That's the purpose of a good villain. When you look at a villain and when they do something that is forcing the hero to overcome a certain challenge and be better than they were before, that's a good villain. You know what I'm saying? That's why, I mean, why do we like Heath Ledger's Joker so much? It's because he pushes Batman to the edge. Right. I mean, he pushes Batman into levels that we be like, yo, ain't nobody ever do that to Batman. You know what I'm saying? He ain't messing with the Riddler or some, you know, Penguin or somebody he could punch and just whatever. He's messing with him psychologically. You know what I'm saying? Like that's legit. You know,
what about so-called villains that make the heroes cheat, or when they flip it and they make you believe something's a hero when they're really the villain, like in Black Panther when Killmonger was a true hero, and then they tried to make us believe Black Panther was the hero when it was really Killmonger.
Hey, look, you know what I've told people, because I've had many debates on Black Panther, and I do argue that Killmonger is among like the top 5, you know, villains in the MCU. The only thing, and Marvel had to kind of push it, the only thing that made him villainous was when he would do random murders. That's it. His goal was not evil in its nature, because for him, he was looking for retribution for racial oppression and liberation. There's nothing wrong with that. However, it's the means that you go about doing it. Matter of fact, that's the same thing that happened with Thanos, you know, in Infinity War. Thanos didn't do nothing wrong just because he wanted to save the world, and in his view, it's just how he went about it. I mean, you can't just go murdering folks.
Thanos was an environmentalist.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. You can say that. You
See,
know,
Thanos believed too many people was using up resources.
Yeah.
And there's only one way you can fix that. You know, you got to snap a finger and have the planet disappear. Whatever you want to do. That was his way of trying to say that's how we solve the resources problem.
I mean, and that's those are the things. So like one thing that I kind of did in college was like I focused on philosophy. So for me, whenever you can do something that brings in philosophical differences, now you really have my mind going. You know, like Thanos was a utilitarian. You know what I'm saying? With a mix of other philosophies as well. He was just like, yo, I'm doing this for the greater good. Right. And because I'm doing this for the greater good, man, killing a couple folks don't mean nothing if I'm saving everybody else. Right. So, you know, things like that, or even Cap Captain America's philosophy. We don't trade lives.
Right.
That's interesting. It has its positives and negatives. So, when you can give me something balanced like that, I love it. But, again, Marvel has to kind of push it and be like, no. They're a little bit more evil than not, yeah, y'all about to make me go through the whole list of other villains, but yeah. So
hey man, like I said, it's our honor to have you here and answer the questions. But I don't want to keep you here too long, so let me kind of round it up with a few more kind of TV movie questions. So you do movie.
Hey, Lamont, can I get one in about movies right quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So this leads. So one of my favorite films of all, my actual favorite film of all time is La Femme Nikita.
Okay.
And so this leads me into asking what you think about Americans having to watch, or not having, they don't have to do anything, but Americans watching films, foreign films that are subtitled, especially with the Oscars this last year with Parasite winning. And a lot of people were turned off by the fact that it wasn't an English language film and they had to read.
Yeah.
Just give me your basic thoughts on that.
Man, look, you talking to an anime lover. So I've been doing subtitles for DBZ, Dragon Ball Z. So you know what I'm saying? Like I don't feel as much pity, but I understand. You know what I'm saying? Like my wife doesn't really care to read subtitles like that, and I just kind of look at her like Americans, just so privileged Americans, but it's a shame because we get conditioned into believing that we're the only ones that can tell good stories, and that's not necessarily true. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, America obviously produces the majority of like quality films. But that doesn't mean that if you expand yourself a little bit, that you won't find some gold. And I try to find movies that supersede any of the mental blocks some people might have. So Parasite's a good one. That's something where it's like, if you take the time to get over the hump of the subtitles, you'll really enjoy the story, or Train to Busan, which doesn't really require that much reading, but my goodness, there's so much that's happening. That's something you have to watch. I got another one for you. I Saw the Devil. Watch that. I Saw the Devil. It was on Netflix. I think it's on Amazon now, or maybe on Hulu, but I Saw the Devil. It's another Korean film. And my goodness, I ain't never seen people be so obsessed with revenge and vengeance before. What? Revenge and vengeance. That's all this is about. That's all it's about. Just to give you a quick, synopsis. Basically, this guy, he's talking to his fiance, and this is like in the beginning, so it's not ruining nothing. Talking to his fiance, she gets into a car accident. The stranger comes up to help her, but ends up doing some really bad things to her.
Ooh.
And the guy is pissed. He's like a special CIA agent or whatever. Think of Taken almost a little bit. And he's doing whatever it takes to find this mysterious person. And, it's not like there's evidence and stuff like that. So one way or another, he's going to try and find this person that did this horrible thing to his fiance. And when he finds him, it's a crazy road. I'll leave it at that. All the way to the ending. All the way.
Am I going to need popcorn, or is this one of them ones where you might have to get something stronger?
You're not going to want to leave because you're going to have to watch everything. You know what I'm saying? Like it just gets nuttier and crazier and crazy. And you just sitting here like, yo, y'all got to stop. This too much. Y'all doing too much. But no, I Saw the Devil. Definitely watch that. I recommend that for anybody who's like, I need something in the foreign film category, But yeah, that would definitely be one.
Right. I'm gonna check that out.
I just tell people, get over it. Like, I'm telling you, there are some quality foreign films out there that are way worth the effort, and TV shows. I've been telling people just recently on my channel Money Heist is the #1 show on Netflix you should be watching. Like, thankfully they have English dubs on there so you can listen to it, but that's a foreign film made in, or a foreign series made in Spain, and it's the best thing going. Like, there's nothing but suspense. Every single episode leaves you sitting there like, oh my gosh, you know, like it's there. Foreign films are quality, man. They are quality.
So that was the next place I was going to take you, to TV shows, because that's the thing that really blew my channel up last year when I started reviewing TV show Power. That took my channel very far. However, my complaint always to Larry is I'm not trying to be boxed into just that genre.
I feel you.
When it comes to TV shows, I'm a little bit more diverse in that I've watched, you might have heard of Damages with Glenn Close, Homeland, Scandal, Prison Break. We watch extremely complex shows.
Sure.
And Money Heist was just one that, when we do our live show, was brought to our attention last week that we started watching. So besides that, what else have you found that you gravitated toward that's in the TV show realm?
One, if people like anime, Castlevania on Netflix,
Love it.
Love Castlevania.
Love it.
What else was another one? If you, I'm gonna do a shameless plug. If you go, and that's only because I can't remember all of them, but if you go to my YouTube channel, scroll down a couple of the videos, I have a Quarantine and Chill, the best things to watch on Netflix, and I throw in a couple of things from Amazon as well.
Okay.
But one of the things that was like kind of top of the list was also Hunters on Amazon, Amazon Prime.
Good, yeah.
That's quality stuff. I loved what they were doing. It's original, so there are some things that are gonna hit for people, some that won't. But overall, I think the story was dope. I think the most important element when watching that, though, is to make sure you watch the X-ray content after every episode. And it's easy to miss because they don't really highlight it, but it's very important to kind of watch that a little additional content that the directors are talking about and the writers that kind of fill in some of the gaps and give you more context for some really heavy material, you know, that's covered throughout the show. But yeah, that would definitely be another one to watch. I'm trying to think of like what I just started. I'm late to the party, but I just started on DC Universe, the Harley Quinn show. Oh my god, that I laugh so hard. It is so stupidly funny. It just brings me joy. Like, I can't wait to keep watching. Like, it's something that you can leave in the background to watch, but you still gonna want to watch it because it's so dumb in a good way. It's so hilarious, and not for kids, but it's so hilarious.
Well, what you think about Titans on DC?
Titans is cool. I mean, I've always been a Teen Titan fan. I have not started the live action Titans.
That's the one you're referring to.
Yeah, I haven't started it yet, but you know, I have to admit, like, I was very skeptical of DC Universe to begin with. The animated movies are a joy. You know, those things are awesome.
The live action is garbage.
Yeah, well, they struggle. And I'm sitting there like, how are y'all in the same family? Like, don't y'all work right next door? Why don't y'all get some tips?
It's
from them right next door. Like,
unbelievable.
I don't know. Oh, I'll give y'all some quick heads up. I haven't done a review for this yet, but Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge.
Already done dropped the review.
Yeah, he liked it. I haven't watched it. I have it on my list.
Beautiful. It is everything I could have hoped and dreamed of in a Mortal Kombat. You know, like, even whatever little bad stuff I could think of is like, all right, shut up, whatever. It's good. It's good. It's really good.
I told you.
It's on my list. I'm gonna watch it. I might pop it on tonight. That's
must watch. That's must watch.
It almost must watch twice. Almost.
Yeah. Hey, if it started playing, I wouldn't mind sitting through it. You know, would not mind.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a real treat. We hardly get real legitimate stars to come to our channel. I mean, 50
I
Cent,
still don't.
50 Cent, he ain't show up. Nia Long claimed she was coming. She ain't show up. But my man Emmanuel decided to come and show us some love. Any way you need to get up with him is in the video description, as well as in the pinned post. Eman, what do you want to say in closing to the people, as we're so grateful to have had you come and see our audience?
Oh, look, first and foremost, I mean, thank you so much for the invite. You know, I always appreciate just, collabing, because that's something that we all need to do. We all got to get exposed to each other and everything. So thank you so much for the invite. Yeah, if anything, for anybody out there, come and check me out on my YouTube channel. I have a new series that I'm starting. It's called The Recap, where basically I will catch you up on the most important news. I'm not trying to go through everything, but just the things that are actually interesting in the entertainment world, TV, movies, etc. And then I just give you my expanded thoughts, But if you don't have time for that, you can always just follow me on social media. Facebook is usually where it's going down the most. Like, I'm probably the most active there. You'll get trailers, reviews, the latest news, and plenty of memes if you just want to have a laugh. So, if you want to have a good time, check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Not so much, but I'm there.
Well,
yeah.
I do have one guest who wants to know, what is your surprise movie of the year so far?
Ooh. I want to say it was Parasite.
Okay.
Even though that was kind of last year though. So yeah, I want to say it was Parasite because that was a movie that I had gotten it in the mail from the studio, and I kind of sat on it because I'm like, what is that? I ain't seen no trailers. I didn't know anything about it. And then when I looked at it, I was like, all right, let me try this out. It was 2:00 in the morning. I'm just playing this thing. I thought I was going to fall asleep on it. Nope. Stayed up until like 4:00 because this thing had me like this, glued. So yeah, that definitely was a huge surprise. I had no idea it was going to be as good as it was. And it definitely was. Oh, okay, I'll give you one. I just saw one. It's not as good as Parasite, but if it was a surprise, this definitely was it. It was Uncorked on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Uncorked. I like that too. That was one of my favorites so far this year.
Yeah, because I was looking at it. I was like, man, this looked like a straight up B movie, Yeah. And then when I watched it, I was like, I had my little wine glass with me. I'm like, yo, this ain't too bad. This not too bad. So yeah, that was a good surprise.
Yeah,
right there. Uncorked.
Wow. Well, Larry, you have anything for Eman in closing?
Yeah, I have one is a question. Well, two questions, but
sure.
One of them, if it spawns too much conversation, then move on from it. The other one's just sort of give me a quick thoughts on it. So the first one is, since you are a critic and you're often reviewing movies, direction, acting, all this stuff, what do you think about? There's been a bit of controversy about bringing over British actors to play Black American roles here, and I know there's been a lot of people saying there's an overabundance of talented, skilled Black actors in this country. Why is it that they need to bring over the Naomi Harrises and the Idris Elbas and whoever else comes over here when they have people here that can play the roles that they're playing? So that's my one. That's well, take that one first. I'll
okay. No, I got some thoughts on that one because I remember.
That's a damn good question, by the way.
That's a good one. I mean, I remember when Sam Jackson kind of like sparked that whole thing, right? And I think a lot of people mistook what he was saying. Because he wasn't like mad at British Black actors or anything. He was just saying like it doesn't make sense to give those opportunities to them when you're telling an African American story. So if the movie just calls for a Black person, cast whoever you want. But if you're doing something like Get Out, well, that deals with specifically American racism, then it does make more sense to bring in an African American Reason being is the fact that the racism that happens in United States is not the exact same that happens in the UK. Now, are there similarities? Yes, but it's not the same. Sometimes it could be more overt. Sometimes there, like racism in itself in this country has evolved in a much different way than it has in other places. In other places, it's very overt and they still using N-words and whatever. In other places, it's just, they'll just, smile in your face and say something else. And here we get a good mix of everything. So, for me, I've just kind of looked at it as an interesting situation. But a friend of mine who's kind of like in the industry, he's an actor and stuff, he would kind of tell me about the casting directors. And, kind of imagine to yourself when you were watching The Wire for the first time and you saw Idris Elba and you was like, man, that's Stringer Bell, man, he's a cool guy. And then all of a sudden he busts out his English accent. You're like, what? And he just kind of catch you off guard. But guess what happens? Same thing happens in the audition room. When these British actors go in and they have these thick English accents, but then they convert to a South, California accent or a New York accent or a down south accent or whatever, it impresses the casting directors, and they're like, oh my gosh, this must be someone who's more talented. It's just, you just get the same way we get impressed, or just mind blown. They get a little mind blown. So I think that's what happens, and that's why they get more opportunities. And I don't want to speak on this too much because I don't know, but I kind of assume that they also might have more experience, with different types of acting. So some of them do stage plays more than just straight up TV or straight up movies or whatever. So, it kind of depends on like what the experience is, what the training is. I would personally look at it more so on a case-by-case basis rather than trying to put it on a big blanket, type of situation. Because I'll give you a quick example. Daniel Kaluuya, who is a fantastic actor. I remember first seeing him on Black Mirror. He was awesome in that. Obviously, he was cool in Get Out. But they put him in Widows, with Viola Davis and like a really good cast. And I thought he was completely miscast because he sat there and you want him to act hard and stuff. He could do that. That's not a problem. But being in Chicago and this guy was supposed to have a Chicago accent and stuff, I'm like, you sound weird. Like this is not for you. Like this is just out your realm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, it's not a knock against him as an actor per se, because I know he's got the talent, but you didn't need this specific role. This specific role could have gone to somebody else, just being honest, probably the same thing with Queen and Slim. He did his thing for sure, but that could have gone to somebody else.
Yeah, I'm glad he took that because that movie was hot garbage.
I was mixed on. I mean, I liked it overall only because I always give credit to originality. And I know a lot of people had issue with the ending and some other elements like, the protests. Like some of those things were just kind of like, what are y'all doing? But I like the fact that that story is not a story that we usually get to tell. That's a story that usually gets filtered and watered down and whitewashed so that it's not too upsetting to other audiences, and it gets told in a completely different way, like Detroit. So, I was appreciative of the fact that what Lena Waithe did with this was you finally had the green light to tell a story as ambitiously as anybody else could in Hollywood. Because when other, directors and writers make stories and they're just out there and they're bold and everything, people just sit there and commend them for like how brave they were and how ambitious they were, even if the movie's not that good, so I'm like, I'm glad that she opened up that door. Go ahead. It still got some issues here and there. Don't get me wrong. But, I like the overall opportunity and the doors that it opens for people behind them. So
my last question.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you had another one.
So my other question, because it's hot right now, is what are your thoughts on Black AF?
Oh Lord!
Because I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about it within the Black community, and I was reading stuff online today about it, and I feel like a lot of the differences of opinion seem to really run along social economic lines. It seems like people that have grown up, either middle class or upper middle class, seem to relate more and really enjoy it, where other people that didn't grow up with as much money seem to find the thing not as funny or offensive. And so anyways, I'm curious what your thoughts are on it.
So even he don't know that you done the interview on your channel. He don't
I haven't seen it.
Okay, no, that's fine. So I posted my review for Black AF. I'll give you like a quick summation. And yes, I did get a chance to interview Kenya Barris about the show, and he dropped a lot of very interesting things. So absolutely go check that out. A lot. But in regards to the show, like, I mean, it starts off rough, you know what I'm saying? And that's I think a lot of that is because it is a rehash of his life, but we've already seen most of his life through Blackish, Grownish, and Mixish. So if you've seen those things already, then watching Black AF is like, all right, why are we watching this redo? Except now you're in it, and it's kind of like the Black Curb Your Enthusiasm, right? Where Larry David did Seinfeld and all that, but now he's starring as himself in his own show. And this is kind of like, in that same vibe. And, what I told people was kind of like, the issues are going to boil down to what you can relate to or not. What made Blackish so great, and that's the sad thing, you can't avoid comparing this to his other shows because they're all one and the same, right? But what made Blackish so good was the fact that it related on so many different topics. Like, you could be black, white, rich, poor, whatever, and you'll find something that's interesting or that you can connect to in that story, or in the characters. And Black AF, a lot of it's kind of rushed, you kind of lose a lot of the identities of, especially the children, because there are just so many of them. I can't relate to, I can't relate to his rich people problems. I just can't. As a black man, as a father, as a husband, as a film critic, there are a lot of things I absolutely can relate to, especially his conversation in episode 5 about how do black people critique other black people. I mean, he made it more industry based, but like, I'm sitting here like, yo, that's something I really do have to deal with. Like, there's a reason why I don't critique Tyler Perry movies. There's a reason for that. And it's like that episode kind of touched on that. So for me, that stuff I can relate to. But kind of like what you were saying, I know people, and my wife, who loves Grownish, loves Mixish, loves Blackish. She couldn't make it past 2 episodes. It was like, I don't like it, and I totally get that. I heard people say, I hate this show, it's terrible, and others that are like, I love it. And the best comparison that I try to give people was, if you take the trajectory of Kenya Barris and you line it up perfectly, I would say, with the trajectory of Kanye West when he was first coming out, because Kanye, when he first came out, college, graduate, college dropout, late registration, graduation, arguably his best 3 albums. Just boom, 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 boom. Well, Blackish, Mixish, Grownish, same thing. But what happened on Kanye's 4th album? 808 Heartbreak. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I'm like, yo, this your 808 Heartbreak. Some people gonna vibe with it, some are not. And the real question is not like if you love what this show does, it's really a question of like, are you going to be there for what he does after this? Because if he goes the route of trying to be too different too fast and it just never lands, well, now you going full Kanye, but you have that opportunity where it's like, okay, you try something different. Maybe you need to pull back. Maybe you got to hone in on what worked, what didn't work, So I think overall it's a mix. It's a mixed bag. It's gonna hit for who it hits for, and it's gonna miss for who it does.
What do you think about Rashida Jones playing his wife? And the reason why I asked that is because until this, I don't think I've ever seen her play a black woman on TV. Or
yeah,
I mean, we know she's black,
yeah,
but I've never. And the reason why I say I've never seen her play a black woman is because on everything that I've seen her play on, they have her just playing a role where she's married to some white dude or with a white dude, and there's other black people on the show which they clearly, cast as black folks, and they never mention race with her.
Yeah.
So they're putting her in there as a black, as a black woman playing a white person. She's passing, I mean, there's a lot of passing going on. We all know The Rock is black, but I've never seen The Rock play really a black man. I've never seen him with a black son or daughter on one of his movies.
Yeah.
I've seen him with white sons.
He'll claim the Samoan though.
He'll play the Samoan, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the same with Vin Diesel. I've never seen him really play a black man. I think I've seen Wentworth Miller play that one movie where it was based on a book where a guy passed and later came back and said he was actually. That's the only time I've ever seen. So there's a lot of passing going on.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on Rashida Jones playing that.
I mean, I loved it, because I think she was honestly like the best part of the entire show. Like she's easily like the one thing that you'll just keep gravitating to and just being like, yes, she like keep her. Like everything else, whatever, but her. Like when she's on, she's on. And what I love about her performance is that she can go from funny to dramatic like that. And she really does show off her acting chops in that case. As for the casting and stuff, I mean, I'm glad, that she was able to be cast that way because it is more true to form to Kenya Barris's actual, well, now ex-wife, but his wife, who is biracial, and I think that was important, just to show that and highlight it. But I think that's more of a Hollywood thing, just having her be out there. But at the same time, I could tell that, one, it's for ratings. You know what I'm saying? Like when you sit here and make someone racially ambiguous, you leave it up to the audience without pushing anything onto them. So when you leave it up to them, it's easier for the networks or the studios to be like, hey, look, we checked off the diversity check card. Or this is good enough where maybe she just has a tan. You're okay either way, right? We don't have to talk about it. No harm, no foul.
Right.
But I do get the sense that it is something that could be an issue for her, only because I remember she had an incident on the red carpet one time where somebody was like, oh my gosh, how do you keep like your dark complexion, or how do you keep up your tan or whatever? And she's like, it's kind of born with it, because the person didn't know that she was biracial, so clearly she does resonate a lot with those issues that mixed, light-skinned, biracial people deal with. And I feel like this show gave her an opportunity to kind of live in that truth because it is her truth.
Right.
But I'm always up for roles highlighting your truth. Like, yo, you are part black. Like, you're Quincy daughter's daughter. Quincy Jones's daughter. Like, yes, it's totally fine that people need to be reminded that you're a sister too, So I liked it for what it was, but I understand why people get cast ambiguously like that.
Now, Larry, how am I supposed to come behind that, man? All these profound questions and question the philosophy and people hint toward black. How am I supposed to come behind that, man?
Yeah, you should know better than let me on your channel.
Man, I might put you on punishment for a week. Good Lord. Now, Eman, I'm trying to get you out of here, but you keep.
No, man, it's fine. That's cool. You're good.
You keep hitting thought-provoking things, and something you said a few minutes ago when you mentioned Lena Waithe. Have you seen The Chi, and what are your thoughts on The Chi and what she has done with that?
I haven't seen it yet. It is absolutely on my to-do list because I actually have a friend of mine who plays on the show and everything. So yeah, it's definitely there. But I mean, from everything I've heard, it's as authentic as it can be, and that's all you really want. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, that's what made The Wire so compelling. Because it was almost like if you watched The Wire, you knew what it was like to be in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, if any show can tap into, our dialect and our way of life and, just the way we move and stuff, like, you win. You know what I'm saying? You win. You did it. So I haven't heard any negative things about it. It's absolutely something on my to-do list. But yeah, like I love everything that Lena is doing, just because she's operating in a space very similar to Kenya Barris, where she can be unapologetically Black. And I think that's really important, because a lot of times, if you watch this documentary on Netflix, I think it's called They Gotta Have Us. Amazing and impeccable. If you just like movies and you're just halfway interested in the journey Blackness and Black people have had to go through, it's primarily directors and actors on that documentary, but that show will make you an expert real quick. They Gotta Have Us. And it chronicles basically, we're going even before Sidney Poitier, like we're going way back in terms of like how we're depicted, how we're regulated within the industry. A lot of times you might sit here and wonder, why does this not feel authentic? Well, that's because there's a white writer, white director, white producer, and that Black actor is sounding unlike a Black person. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, when you get the opportunity to get something authentic, because it's actually coming from Black creators, that's huge, and it honestly, it's the same thing with any vehicle. So whether it's being Black, whether it's being Hispanic, with like a movie like Coco, like, hey, I was like, yo, I don't know nothing about Mexican culture, but I feel like this movie just gave me the real, whether it's just women, having a certain voice and showing things the way that they would, tell a story. Like, when you can get that from any, lane that you coming from, it's beautiful. It's great. That's art. That's what you want from art.
I would agree. I watched it and I binged through it. I'm going to probably start reviewing the new season of Shy season 3 when it comes out. And I really got a wider feel from it. I mean, it really embodies that same essence. If you've seen The Wire, and I'm not going to give it all away just yet, but if you've seen it, the Shy embodied that essence. And I think it was well done. And when you watch it, you'll really, really like the way she kept the story going.
Good.
Yeah, I'm caught up on it. And when I first started watching it, I feel like I watched the first episode. The first few episodes I felt like are so heavy. Especially the first episode was so heavy. I wasn't sure I was going to keep watching it, and I had to like sit it down for a minute and go watch something else just to get. I think I went and watched a CW show or something after that, just sort of like to cleanse my palate, because it was, the first couple episodes are really just, they mess you up, because it's just it's heartbreaking what you see and what they're experiencing. It's just, yeah. So it's really good though. The stories are good. Obviously, it feels like once you get into it more, you start to know the characters a little bit. It's a little bit easier to watch. But those first couple, if you're feeling some sort of way about it, I would just go watch something light and come back to it. Maybe go watch some Superman, Red Sun or something.
Gotcha.
So my last question to you in today's conversation: who do you watch on YouTube that does movie or TV show reviews? Because there seems to be a mixed bag of people out there. I hear you've got Grace Randolph, I think that's her name. You hear mixed reviews about all these people. Who are some of your influences that do it on YouTube?
None. So I purposely try not to watch other people. And I purposely try not to read other reviews. Like, I really try to maintain my own original voice, for a lot of things. In terms of general stuff, like I'll watch Emergency Awesome from time to time, just because sometimes there'll be like certain shows that I ain't got time to watch, and maybe he does some things on that. But even outside of that, like when you shift, because I always tell people, like, there are two types of people out there. You're either gonna be a consumer or you're gonna be a producer. And when you shift into the role of producing content, one thing for me is like I absolutely hate being unoriginal. Like the same way I don't like spoilers, I don't like copying other people. So if I got a Marvel theory or something like that, if I even see somebody else already touched on it, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like I can't, it feels weird to me because maybe that's just an insecurity of mine, but I don't want anybody coming up to me saying, oh, you stole this idea, or I heard it better somewhere else. Like, nah, if you hear something from me, it's because I'm the only one that talked about it. Like, what was it? You ever hear the theory about Captain America not being able to lift Thor's hammer because of the guilt from what happened with him and Stark and Bucky and all that? Civil War. Yeah, I started that. Back in like 2016 or something like that. I wrote an article about it, and nobody was checking for it, because I did my research. I researched everywhere. I was like, how come Cap couldn't lift this thing? And everybody said all the other cute stuff. Oh, he was just playing. He didn't want to. And I was like, nah, man, you know what? Cap was real bogus in Civil War. And I think because of that, he was not worthy just for that moment. And I roll with that. Now somebody took my theory and stole it, made it more popular. I had to fight to get that back, to get the credit back. But either way, that's like just an example of things of like, I will research things, and that's the extent of me watching other people's stuff.
Right.
Like, I will watch your stuff to make sure I'm not copying you. But I'm not going to watch you and become a consumer only because it stifles my own creativity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it keeps me from, because I'm busy watching you. If I'm watching you, I don't have time to make my own stuff. So yeah, I tried not to, but I'm aware, of Grace and Jeremy and Chris Stucker, whatever, and that's fine. But I've also realized, like, I don't want to be them. You know what I'm saying? Because that I've seen the ceiling with them, and they are the ceiling. If you type in movie review right now on YouTube, you'll see Jeremy, whatever dude's name is, I forget his name now, but you'll see Jeremy, you'll see Grace and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, so if y'all the top, what are y'all doing? Oh, they got maybe 1.5 million subscribers, 1 million subscribers. I'm like, that's cool, but I want more. So if I want more, I can't be looking at what y'all do. I gotta do something else, to differentiate myself. I want to get them 2, 3, 4, 5 million, one day. I don't know how. But
do you get pressure at all from the studios or from whoever, like when they really want a movie out there and you're just like, I'm just not really feeling it, but they're really pushing something, like they just want to get these reviews out on a particular film or a TV series, or even if you feel like your audience is really wanting to hear your opinion on things. It's like, just an example, I don't know if you watched it or not, but let's just say people are like, I want to know what you think about Tiger King. And you're like, I just don't want to review that. I mean, are you feeling pressure to do stuff like that?
So I will typically, look, I'm not here without my audience. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people that watch my stuff, like, I can't tell you how much I appreciate them taking the time. I've got people that are ride or die, like they've been with my channel for like years, and I might not know them personally, but I know them by screen name. You know what I'm saying? Because I really still try to go back, and if I'm not creating something, I'm usually going back to my channel and I'm giving you a heart just to let you know I see you. Just to give you a thank you, even if I can't respond in full. Like, that's the least I can do. So if people are sitting here like, yo, E-Man, we need you to do this, okay, like, I'm not here without y'all, so I'll do that. But as far as the studios are pressing for everything and anything. I can't tell you how much my emails just get bogged down with like everything. Like, y'all think there are a lot of movies in the theaters. No, there's a lot of movies, period. Like, there are B movies, C movies, D movies, you know, that people just see you and they like, hey, review my movie. Hey, check me out, you know. As far as like certain pressure, I think the only pressure I would ever feel is, and this is just more of an industry thing, is if like the studio goes above and beyond for you. So, for example, if a studio's like, hey, look, we about to fly you out and do X, Y, and Z, which is normal practice. It's not like bribing, but it is enticing, right? It's kind of like, we're really hoping that you review this movie after we put you up in this expensive hotel and we buy you dinner and we do this and that. We ain't saying you got to review it, but it'd be kind of nice if you happen to review, you know. So now what I personally do is like, if I don't feel positive about the movie, like you will not see a lot of negative films or movie or shows reviewed on my channel, because for me it's like, I don't feel like I need to tear you down unless you trick me. You know what I'm saying? If you trick me into a movie that looks like it's good, but then it's really trash, I'm gonna let you know about yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's really the only time there's pressure is, you know, like if they do something like for our Critic Association and they're like, hey, we're about to give you all of y'all like early access, and you know, if that's something we normally wouldn't get, all right, least we can do is, you know, watch it, review it, and send it to you. So that's really the extent of the pressure, I guess.
Okay.
Well, my final two questions. I promise this is my final two. I promise, because I don't know about y'all, but I'm a married man and she's 29 weeks and that whole thing, you know.
TikTok.
And don't, bruh, Lord have mercy. How could some of the film associations you are associated with, for up and coming YouTubers that might be watching this, how do they go about getting involved in such networking circles or such circles so that they can start modeling their behavior after your success?
I mean, you know, every lane is going to be different, right? So you really got to ask yourself, like, are you trying to do this as a social media influencer, or are you trying to do this as a published writer? You know, because both are kind of doing the same thing. A lot of times, you know, if you don't have the numbers, you can attach yourself to an outlet that does have the numbers. That's a quick and easy, dirty way to jump the line, you know. So for example, I got a chance to interview Chadwick Boseman, and this was when he was doing the movie Marshall. I would have never been able to do it, even with my numbers back then, had I not been partnered with movietickets.com. Now they got bought out by Fandango, but at the time, movietickets.com, you talking about a website that was getting millions of views, and they wanted me to do video content for them and put it on their website. So I'm like, okay, when I go in, again, remember I said numbers are your currency. That's your money, right? I would walk up to the studios and be like, yo, can I get on this red carpet? I just so happen to have this website that's got millions of views behind me. And they're like, oh, yes, sir. Here you go. Okay. You know, so then you get the access that way. But in terms of critic associations, those are obviously a lot easier to get into, but they have requirements. You know, like some of them are like, yo, you have to be writing, or at least you have to have content written for the past 2 years. You know, and they have to meet this standard, that standard. They got to be this length, that length. And, you know, because the thing is, they're not about to just let you in just because you feel like being a critic today. Right. You know, they want to separate the people that are doing it as a hobby versus ones that are acting like they're professionals. You know, like, I don't get paid for this, you know, but I do it as if I am, you know. So, if you're in, you know, Chicago, if you're in New York, if you're in LA or whatever, you want to do a search for like a local film critic association in your area. That's usually the best place to start. Atlanta, that's, you know, a hot popping place right now. But yeah, I would look into that, see if there's a Film Critic Association in your local area. If not, I think there's an online Film Critic Association. But again, you know, you're gonna have to do what you got to do to meet their requirements and, you know, jump through their hoops. Sometimes they're going to want a website, which means you got to build a website for yourself. You know, you can't just be like, hey, look at my YouTube. You know, sometimes they want written stuff. You know, like my group is a little more flexible because we do things like if you're a podcaster, if you're a YouTuber, if you're a writer, like we take diversity to that next level even with that. But other places are like, we want written stuff and we want this many, this long, etc., etc. And yeah, you just got to meet those requirements. But that should open doors for you.
Wow.
Cool.
All I can say is, man, I'm going to have to clean up my channel because you have came here and so thoroughly blessed and washed this dirty channel with your clean content, your clean swag, your clean appeal to movies. I am not going to use another profane word. This channel is officially cleaned up because of your presence. Damn it!
What the bleep?
you know, one of the reasons why, because like people have said that to me before in the past, and that was like something I learned, not the hard way, because I've just never really been much of a, well, you get a couple drinks in, it's a different story. But the one thing I realized is that sometimes you can get demonetized, you know what I'm saying? Or sometimes certain sponsors or advertisers don't want to mess with that because they want something family friendly. Right. So it's just been something I'm like, well, why risk it? Like, if I got a reason that's going to potentially block me from getting money, like, all I got to do is not curse. All right, cool. You know, so that's just something to keep in mind for some people, because I know there were some people who had like they had podcasts, but it was dedicated to also liquor. You know, so it was like, you know, drinks in a movie or something like that, and they would always talk about liquor and everything. And a lot of the studios didn't want to mess with them. They didn't want to give them opportunities. They didn't want to give them sponsorships. Didn't want to get them screeners because it was like, yo, we can't be associated with like alcoholic beverages or gambling or whatever, you know. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind, you know, like it might be cool to call your podcast, you know, S talking and the daily S of the day and, you know, stuff like that. But just understand you're also limiting your opportunities too, you know.
Right.
That's something you do when you get big and popular and people are chasing you regardless, you know. But just something to throw out there.
Hey, we appreciate all the blessings and all the knowledge. When can we ever invite you to come back? You've been a blessing to the audience. They're screaming to have you come back. As a matter of fact, one of them has said, replace myself, go jump out of the river, and let it be you and Larry and T.
Come on, man.
No. I can't get rid of you, man.
Look, Larry, I got airplane subscribers, some of them. They push me out the airplane. They're gonna fly it with y'all. Look at it.
Oh man, you got a very unique audience, man. That's a special breed right there.
So it would be our honor to have you come back another day and talk movies. Just, you know, wrap it up. Just chit chat on TV shows and movies when you get some free time. But we know you are a creator, and we both know just how busy that can be.
Man, look, I got like 4 projects I got to work on tonight. So yeah.
Oh well, brother, we greatly appreciate you coming and talk to us. Everyone that's watching this, be sure to go subscribe to his channel. The man is on his grind. It's clean content that even your 14-year-old can watch. And he's still growing. And I want to help him get to that rocket plateau where he wants to be. Larry, you got any closing words for Eman?
Yeah, man. Think about that. Think about your favorite and your least favorite movie, because the next time I'm gonna ask.
Okay. I
want to know what it is.
I
love finding out what people have on their favorite, on the top and the bottom of their list. So
I got you.
Other than that, man, just stay safe and stay healthy.
Exactly.
We'll do. Thank you guys so much. For real. Like, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, we thank you. And As I always say to everybody, this channel is about helping you make gains, in particular those life gains. And until that next Sex is Hell video, subscribe to Eman's channel. And we out of